Hello. So I'm gonna try to make a quick tour of Psylab because I know it's a bit complex at first. So first, sorry for my bad English. That's not my native language, so I will try to do my best, but you know, it's always more complicated. So basically, Psylab, just to make a quick tour of the interface. So basically, it was made to design Psytrance kick and bass, but it can do more now. But globally, it's four sounds. You have four parts, and you can save them as a global program. So here it shows the main bar, the main top area is for the global programs. So a program in Scilab, it's called PGM, and it stores four sounds on the master section. So when you press here, you can show the list of the programs. And here are some folders, for example, let's load the kick and bass. So Psy Key Baby, load program, you can use the arrows. And if I press play, here is the global play of here it's a standalone version, but it's globally the same. It's a play of the sequencer. Because here, when I load a program, it has two sounds, and each sound has its own parameters and sequence data and etc. So here you can go show the list of the preset to select one, change, and go next preset, etc. Because the main idea was to be able to quickly make like kick and bass taste and compare them, and also have an oscilloscope built in. You know, not make a plugin for kick and plugin for bass, and then one for scope, one for sidechain. Here it's all in one, so you can access the kick, the bass, the curves, and the scope. So for the scope, you have zoom. Here you can use the mouse wheel, and you can inspect some place like between the kick and bass what happens. You can press here on up and down to zoom, or on the in point or out point, and right click is reset. It's a full reset in all the plugin. Right click is reset. Because the scope it got some timing for the I'm gonna stop for now with mute. The scope you can mute here on the interface. So the scope is got let's say a duration of the loop, which is here. For example, here I'm on beat. That means that kick bass I will see the kick and the bass 1, 2, 3, 4. For example, if I change another kick bass, you can see the kick and the three bass shots. I could be on 2 beats and see 2 of them, on bar and see 4 of them. Here is the cursor, you can see where it's playing. So if you left click, you zoom, and right click in zoom. It's not zoom, it's the length of the buffer of the. But the thing I wanted is to be able to have it's always in sync. So you see perfectly, you know, it's stable, very stable, and you can zoom up to sample res anywhere in the buffer and inspect your kick and bass. For example, here we can see the summing by default, but if you press one left click, you can see the layers. So you can see your kick and your bass, and if you add other sounds, your other sound. And if you continue to click, you can see in sound mode, you can see you see only the sound on which you have to, for example, the bass and the kick. Okay. So here it's summing. You can here you can close the scope and reopen the scope. Here you can show some spectrum and spectrogram data. Here it's the global scale of the scope. Right click it's to reset, and auto is to make there is kind of internal envelope followers that will scan the peak and automatically scale the too much. Clear is to clear the buffer, but it's not really. It's for something else I'll explain later. And cursor is playing position. Okay, so this was globally the scope. And at any time you can bounce the scope. If you are on full version, you can export the oscilloscope content. And here you make a name, test.wave. And here I've got the file. I can drag and drop it to my DAW or to my anywhere else. Okay, if you were on sound, you can export only the kick or only the bass. So that's it for the scope. So this is for the global programs. You can show the list. You can go next preset. Here it's for loading preset on the hard drive. Here's for the writing. When you are happy with a preset, a global preset, you can save it. So I recommend to not save on using preset, because they will be overwritten in later installs. So you have a user preset, you can save it there or anywhere you want, but give them a name and save. Init is to initialize. So when you press init, it initializes all the 4 sounds and all the masters, all the parameters of the plugins. Okay. Then let's say I'll call back kick-bass. There's one nice function here is to load memory A and B. It lets you compare. For example, here I loaded the preset. I can make change. Let's say I move these parameters to make more a triangle. I can start to B. Let's say I move like this and I want to compare. I start to A, and then you can reload E and B to compare and listen. Okay, I like this one before, so I'll write this one. And reload, it reloads the last preset you loaded, so you can compare if it's better or not. Okay. And so that's it. Here shows the scope or not and the keyboard. And here it's for only the full version can bounce to wave or bounce to MIDI, all to export. Here it's for full screen, or you can also adjust the size here as you want. Okay, so let's move on. Here it's a global play of the sequencer with timing, bars and PPQ. Here it's the tempo, so you can show up and down to adjust tempo, double click to adjust the tempo. It's on the standalone. On the VST it will follow DAW tempo, of course. But on standalone you can decide to test at certain tempo and save it, and it will be recalled with the preset. So, because basically the main idea is to have 4 sounds, donc mainly kick, bass and something else. You can have lead or special effects or stuff like that. And this saves the global preset, but then you have presets per context. There are 3 main contexts. There is curve editor, the parameters which are all the sound patch in itself, and the sequence data. So it's useful to quickly make a 4/4 kick and bass and save. And when you reload, you have an instant preview of all the shit without finding the MIDI, loading a scope and things like that. But of course, you can, in DAW, you can disable the sequencer and remote as you wish. But so mainly there are context, and each context can the bottom bar here it will be different for each context. It will act differently for each context. For example, if I'm on the curve editor, here the list will show the curve presets, because you can save curve presets independently of sound preset or sequence preset or global preset. So if you made a curve and you like it, you can save it right to for example, test. Okay. Then if you change, you can show the list and reload your test curves here. Okay, you can copy a curve and let's say go to the filter and paste your curve. So this is for the context. It's a context menu. Okay, here you can navigate through the presets and make your own. If you press init, it will init only the curve, etc. So basically, it was made around Bezier curves. It's curves that have 4 control points. In Psylab, I define segments are being between 2 main points. You have a segment, and in Bezier, for example, you have 2 tangent points that let you shape the in slope and the out slope, and also that let you, if you link, you can decide to have a smooth continuity between segments or not. If you press shift, you can break the handles, the ties. Okay, if pressing control, you can fine adjust the point. Of course, you can move points. If you press snap here, you can snap to the grid. You can define a grid here, X and Y. And for the point, you can, if you want to add a new point, you can go anywhere on the curve where there are no points and press right click. It will slice, and if it's Bezier, it will remain the same shape as it was before. Okay. To delete a point, you can right click on the point. Okay. And also, here are the segments. There are markers here, so you can also move a point here on X and Y, and also the whole segment. You can move it and move the 2 points. And you can also delete if you want to go faster and delete those 2 points. You can right-click the bar to delete all the segment, okay, or delete just a point here. You can also double-click, but here it won't. It will change a bit. It's more if you want to go and create points. It won't preserve the shape. You can also select several points like this and scale with anchors, okay, or move. If you are in select mode, you can press shift to move only vertical or only horizontal. And if here you right click, it will delete all the points in the selection. And sometimes you also want maybe to scale off on a part. You can select a segment by double click, and pressing shift you can extend and scale only this part, for example. Okay. Here is the global scale. You can scale the curve from top, from bottom, or if in the middle you can scale going left and right. And this is split in 2 parts. The left part affects the curves, the right part doesn't affect the curve. That means, for example, if you got a curve that's like this, when you open, you can go first, then without affecting, and then rescale the other way around, for example. Okay, so let's say I init. So a curve is made of segments like this, and each segment can have a mode, an interpolation mode. By default, it's Bezier. I find it's the most powerful for me, but if you want to make simpler, you can have, for example, B1, which is only one handle Bezier. Okay, or you can have stuff like cubic spline. It's a spline going through all the points. You can have, for example, a sine. It lets you make sinus, and you can adjust the number of sinus and some fade and the amplitude of the sinus. Can have some lines, straight lines, or some steps, like 2 steps. Or you'll have to test for this, but basically you have many modes. FX is like a combo where you can have lines and then logarithmic or exponential and up to completely nearly a full step. Okay, but and if you want to assign Bezier to all, you can just move to all, and it will affect all the curves. You can scale all the curve here with this and move it. Okay, and what else? Yeah, you have kind of presets, like if you want to go faster, you can have some kind of preset here that you can drop on a segment, for example this, and a sinus and some stuff like that. Okay, so what else? So yeah, that's for the curve editor. The main thing on here is zoom, so you can zoom with mouse wheel, but you can also use this up and down in point, out point, and middle point. And one thing to understand is that it got some curves which are already mapped, for example the pitch and the amplitude for a kick. But each curve got a duration and a mode. For example, here it's an envelope. That means that if here I show the cursor, it retrieves each time the knot trigs, it retrieves. And here you set the length, so we can see the wave background and the duration. So you can double click here and enter in MS 16-bit bar. Let's say I want 200 ms. I'll press 200 ms. So we know that here it's 0 and here it's 200 ms. Okay. So here are shortcuts because often a kick you want to be 116 or 112 or 18. So here we know the pitch envelope is 18. So this here you can show where it is playing the cursor, because it could also be, for example, an LFO. LFO you would have not envelope but loop, and you could say, for example, 1 bar. So if I put 1 bar here, you know it doesn't trigger. It's like an LFO. If I press the cursor, it makes 1 bars and then 1 again. Okay. So I'll make envelope for now. Here it shows the data, like for each node. If you add nodes, you will have the notes. For example, on the pitch envelope, you will have the notes, the cents and semitones, the hertz. And here is the min and max. You know, the top of the screen will be 52 semitones, 11k hertz, and the bottom is minus 48, 38. You can adjust here, and it will correspond to the top and bottom. Okay, so what else? Link, I show it's for Bezier. By default, if link, the default behavior is to link the tangents. Then if you press shift, you break, or if it's not on, it's the other way around. By default, it's not break, but if you press shift, it's not link, but if you press shift, you link. Okay. Draw is useful when you have, for example, here you have in shape, you can generate some, as you can make the curve for nearly anything, oscillators or automation, LFO, you have some kind of templates. For example, Sin 5 it's perfect sinus. You can have steps, for example. And draw is cool for steps because you don't have to edit all the points like this. You can draw directly. Quantize this to snap to the grid. So here the grid that is here that we see behind. So it's important that you check what mapping is your. If you want to make something synced, you have to choose a synced value here. For example, 1/4, 1/8. So the grid is, you know what I mean. It's snapped to the start and the end. So yeah, fuse is when sometimes you have, let's say, in it. Sometimes you have really close points. You can fuse them. Shape to generate shapes, and yeah, it's processing menu. There are many options like to double the size, to double the curve, or to randomize Linux, or to mirror, stuff like that. I'll let you know to make it all flat, stuff like this. Okay, so I will make a more in-depth tutorial later on, but that's the global overview. So this was for curve editor. Next is so you have 16 curves here. Okay, some are mapped, and the other you can map to anything. Next is parameters. So here that's all the big mess of all sound patch. So each sound can have 2 oscillators, with sub-oscillators, with LFOs, effects, and stuff like that. And you see there are some kind of little square here, which I call deploy, is to unfold the effects. And here it's the on-off of the effects. So because you can have them, let's say I unfold many effects. If you right-click in the empty area, you can fold or unfold all the effects, because you can have them on, but you don't want to see all the parameters, and you can fold them. So basically on a parameter you can adjust it, of course, with up and down, or double click and enter the value. If you right click, it resets to default. If you press Ctrl, it's fine adjust. And sometimes if you have float parameters, like for example ear pitch, it's a coarse pitch for automation. You have a float number with a floating point. If you press Shift, it will snap to integers numbers. Okay, so that's it. So yeah, on each parameter you can move over and you'll see a little description about what it does. But globally, yeah, that's 2 oscillators, and here are the main functions. So on off, it's like here on each sound you select a sound to show it, and you can switch it off to save CPU. If you need only a kick, you don't need to use the other sounds. Init to init. MIDI channel is what MIDI channels. If you remote from a DAW or from a keyboard, you can, by default, it will be channel 1, 2, 3, 4. You can change. If you want 2 sounds to react to channel 1, you can set them both to channel 1, or stuff like that. And then, yeah, one thing to know is, for example, on pitch settings, here you can say if it's fixed or K-tracked, if it will react to the note number for A and B. Here it's envelope, pitch envelope, A and B. And by default, it's using the curve here, the basic curve. But you can, if you click here, you have an ADSR. AH, there is old, and you have many shaping options, like the curve of each stage. So on pitch you choose if it's ADSR or the pitch, precise pitch envelope, like you want. Okay, on the amplitude envelope, you have you can have both. You can click to enable the ADSR, or and or use amplitude envelope here. Okay. So generally on a kick, I don't have ADSR. I'll just adjust directly on the curve. So here you can directly see the wave, how it reacts to the amplitude. Okay. So I'll make more detailed video on each because there are many synth engine. But basically, for example, on the bass here, you can see here it's mass engine, it's a sinus, but you can warp the phase or warp the amplitude with many functions. But globally, one thing which is interesting in Psylab is to use custom CV. So custom CV, it lets you design your own sawtooth or your own shape. For example, here it's a sawtooth with remove the filters and DC. Here you can make it look the way you want. Okay, if you want to customize, that can be really powerful. So just to go quick on the parameters, I will show you how to assign, for example, LFOs. Here you have LFO, you can switch it on. You have many shapes and a speed, and you can go to the matrix to assign to any parameters. So here on the matrix, the first slot is the source. So here I'll pick LFO 0. The second cell is target. So when you click, it enters learn mode. You can click on the one you want to automate, and up and down is the force of the modulation. And here it's polar bipolar. So here it's go both ways. Here it's the force. But if I press this, it's unipolar. So it only moves this way. Okay. For now, that's it. And here it's processing order. So it's you can have the amplitude before the filter or after the filter, or maybe make the distortion before the filter or after, or stuff like that. Have the amplitude after all effects, or so you can reorder things like this and enable, disable them. It's shortcut for enable. Yeah. Okay. So then I think it's so in this context it's SNP presets. That means that's all the parameters of the sound. If we save a sound, that will save all the parameters, all its sequence, and all its 16 curves. So basically that's a whole block of a sound. If you reload, you will have all the sound with its sequence, its parameters, automation, everything. So yeah, here it shows, for example, if I made some psychics, you can, if I click it, will load all the parameters. So this context is all the sound preset. So same, you can copy sound here and go to another sound or another patch, another sound, and paste it. And that won't be only one curve, but all the stuff. Okay. So then sequencer. There is a built-in step sequencer, which is a basic 32-step sequencer. So it's a bit like the virus one. You have triggers here. You have here it's I'm gonna init. So each sound can have a sequencer on or off on the sequence tab. And basically you have 8 patterns to play some playgrounds patterns. Here are the triggers, so on off. You can right click to disable. Here it's up is velocity and gate on horizontal. And to go quicker, you can, if you make kicks, for example, you can press fill, it will make 2, then 4, then 8, etc. And here is the global rate. 16 is mean 1 bar, but here it's half a bar. It will play faster or slower here. And here are the notes. So here you can adjust the notes, can adjust the length on and if there is room, you can move the note here. That's the only place you can really move. And if you resize, if you press Ctrl, you can snap to the grid. And if you press Shift, you can draw some kind of rolls, draw on the grid. Okay, if you press right click and draw, you erase all you over.